Hey everyone, this is Jason, and welcome back to another Grand Slam Secret War Journals. This is week 3. So, a lot of good stuff to get into. June just started, a lot of new books. Before I get into it, I just wanted to briefly mention that there's a really cool map that I'm going to point to over here, force perspective on the way. So there's a map right here, and on the map, what's going on is Doom made this out of this patchwork planet battle world out of all of the different stories, timelines, and everything that they were able to salvage. And so we have this world, battle world, and there's all these different places. Like up here, you probably can't tell, but that's Greenland. That's where all the Hulks are from. Down here, here's the wall. 31, right here, this brown place. That's the wasteland. That's where Old Man Logan's at. New Xandar is down here under 40. It's beyond the wall, the annihilation wave. So there's all this crazy stuff that's going on. There's a geography to it. There's a location to it. We can see how things are adjacent to one another, where Dr. Doom decided we need to put things. He strategically decided to do that, clearly. If you look at the map, hopefully that plays out through the stories. You're beginning to see who neighbors with who and how they interact with each other. We'll know more by the end of June, hopefully. But right now, it's a really interesting aid. So I would recommend you get one of these maps. You can also go to marvel.com, check out their Battle World map there. It's more interactive. It'll also, when you click on the place, it'll tell you what book it ties into. So that's my thoughts on the map. I wish I could bring up a graphic for a map as I was talking about it, but this is as far as I'll go with the technology and do this on my own. So without further ado, this is week 3 of Secret Wars. How was it? Let's find out. Secret Wars Battle World issue number 2. I didn't talk about issue 1 because I totally spaced it. These books basically come out with all the major events that Marvel does, and they're always little one-off stories, and they don't really tie into things. They're usually just cute more than interesting. Very much the case here. However, in this particular week, the first story is Blade and a guy named Howard the Duck, and Blade is visiting New Quack City, which is one of the places in Battleworld, and there's a bunch of vampire ducks. And, you just got to kill the vampire ducks if you're Blade, because, Blade likes to kill vampires. Yeah, that's literally what the story is. He teams up with Howard the Duck. They quack some jokes. And, you see what I did there? And at the end, there's a really interesting joke that's slightly racist and speciest at the same time. So I don't know how I feel about it, but if you like your funny books funny, there's a funny book in here. The second half is all about awesomeness. It takes place in Arcade's gladiatorial combat arena, which is technically Doom's arena, but Arcade runs the show, and he's kind of in charge of all the machinations of these gladiators fighting one another. And in this one, there's a new hero on the rise, Thunderbolt Ross. He's actually an iron war machine, and so he's half man, half machine, and he's teaming up with Captain America. He's trying to we can inspire people. We need more heroes to inspire people here in Battleworld. And so he defies people and murders people. And Taskmaster tries to undermine him, but Taskmaster's dude, we can't let this guy rise up. And Arcade is what are you gonna tell me? I'm Arcade. I'm genius. You can't beat me. I'm the game master. And Taskmaster goes down basically. So it's lots of fun, lots of cool politicking. 2 really cool stories. No idea how any of it ties into anything. But I like seeing Taskmaster get what's his, son. All right, this one here is basically Doom watched Muppet Babies when he was a kid, I guess. And he was like, Muppet Babies are sweet. We need to have Marvel Muppet Babies. We need to put these people into their own continent. It's called Marvel. And in here, we have, it's basically Little Marvel, Avengers versus X-Men. And in this book, I'll just open it to a page. You can just see Scott Young is on top of his game with mayhem of little toddler-looking chibi Avengers and X-Men fighting each other over basically the rights to sell hot dogs on a street corner. The comic literally starts off with a theme song. You might as well just turn on Sesame Street and start shaking them drums and those bells. And it's awesome if you're into this kind of stuff. I'm trying to sell this more to kids. But if you're a kid at heart, like I am, this might be one worth checking out. Really good art by Scotty Young. But what does it have to do with Battleworld? No clue. No idea. But it's a place in Battleworld. He thought it was appropriate. Time to get serious. Extinction Agenda. So this is like the more hardcore 90s, 2000s X-Men type of story where there's an explanation at the beginning of it where it explains what is going on here. And in this one, I don't really want to get into it too much, but it's very political. It has all the X-Men. It has to do with Genosha. It takes place in Utopia, which is up here. And Utopia is basically, there's Genosha, and they have a disease going on. And Jean Grey, Rachel Grey, Rachel Summers, it's either one of those two. She's like in charge of stuff, and she's like kind of like, Genosha's gonna get sick. So, but there's magistrates that rule Genosha, and they're trying to rise up against her rule. And so they're gonna try to fight. It's basically X-Men infighting. Man, really political. It definitely has to do. There's even a baseball game. I love X-Men books in a baseball game. They even make a great joke about how many times this has happened in the X-Men book, which is basically every Chris Claremont book ever. Great stuff in here. If you like cool, old school X-Men type of stories, Extinction Agenda is where it's at. Years of Futures Past. Hey, Days of Futures Past is an actual comic book. It's good. It's not that movie that came out last year. It's its own story. This kind of picks up with that whole Days of Future Past story. It's a dark future where things are not going well. The mutants have had their powers turned off. They're like in internment camps. It's horrible. It's horrible. Logan's still around. So the events of Days of Future Past haven't happened yet where they all get killed. But Kitty and Colossus, they have a kid. She might be the answer. Wolverine has a kid named Cameron. Really cool stuff. It's a really intriguing story. It definitely ties into everything. Doom obviously is kind of tied in. He hates mutants. That's basically Doom hates mutants. That's what you find out from this. He just thinks he would have ruled the world by now if it wasn't for mutants. So, man, if you like really cool X-Men books, these are so much better than the Inferno one from last week. I am really in full support of these books. Check those two out. Master of Kung Fu #2. This is the second issue. I don't count Battle World because those aren't tied in. Boom, this is getting so much better. I'm so into this. Master of Kung Fu, Shang-Chi. He is like, this is just a great Kung Fu story. He beat a bunch of people last week. This week, they're all like, all these guys who he beat are like, you can teach us these new styles. You're the master of 9 of the 10 rings, and you can teach us how to fight better. And he's like, and he just gives them all a reason, like, no, you guys, you're not worth my time. He's a drunken master, and he beats them like he's drunk. Like, he beats them while drunk. So, and he's the son of the emperor of this place, who I guess is probably the Baron of Kunlun. And there's a tournament coming up, like an actual tournament, where they get a fight for who rules Kunlun. I mean, that's awesome. So, Shang-Chi, the incident happens, bad things go down. He's like, all right, I'm going to fight. So at the end of it, like, Shang-Chi's stepping up to be a hero. Iron Fist is in it. There's all sorts of just great Kung Fu stuff. If you like Kung Fu stuff, I really hope they continue with Kung Fuism. Iron Fist was a great book. This version of Shang-Chi is the awesome Shang-Chi that I would like to see. So thank you. Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows. Holy goodness gracious. Really cool, fun book. This is Dan Slott. It's art by Andy Kubert. I don't know how this ties into anything. It doesn't seem like it's in Doom's world, but it's definitely an alternate universe where, Peter's still married to MJ. They have a kid named Abby, and he's struggling to get by. Things happen. In this particular book, he basically, they run into a guy named Regent. Regent's like taking all these minor superpowered characters, and he's like taking their powers, and apparently he's killed all the X-Men and like has I-beams. He can bamf and do horrible things. He takes down the Avengers. It's horrible. Spider-Man has to fight Venom. I mean, it's so much Spider-Man-y goodness. Long story short, get this book if you like Spider-Man. If you like to see him being awesome, this is a good book. And still with Mary Jane, struggling to get by, doing the photography gig. All right, just a couple more books here. Armor Wars, baby. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Armor Wars, I was thinking this was going to be a lot more just like dudes punching dudes. So far, it's been a lot of intrigue. Armor Wars is Technopolis, which is up here on the map. I don't remember where, but Technopolis is his place. Tony Stark is the Baron, and he's kind of in charge of all the technology. Now, this is kind of a reference to Armor Wars. It also kind of makes a reference to the Heroes Reborn universe, which was from the early 90s, mid 90s. And so there's some cool stuff going on in here. What we find out is Tony he's a baron. He's in politics, dealing with his brother Arno. And of course, there's Fisk, who's involved. He's like being supported by Arno. Tony, there's an armor war going on between him and his brother. His brother came up in recent year or two. You didn't know Tony had a brother? He does. So that's the thing that happened. He's trying to bring there's a complicated story where he has an ex-lover. She has a kid now. She calls him his uncle. Really cool references to things. It's more political. It's technological thriller is what Iron Man's supposed to be. That's why it's a super nerd book. It's not always just robots punching robots, but there's robots punching robots in here, just not as much as you would think. So definitely check this one out if you like Iron Man stuff. Armor Wars is going to lead to good places. I saved this one for second to last. This is Future Imperfect. All right, this is Dystopia, which is in Greenland. It's this little blot right here, and this is where this guy is, Maestro, and he's just hanging out, and he just does stuff. He rules this place with an iron fist. And at the beginning of the story, we get introduced to Ruby Summers. Ruby Summers is so awesome. So she's a character. She was in the book she was in X Factor for like 12 issues, and really cool character. Ruby's a cross between, she's the daughter of Scott Summers and Emma Frost. If you've never heard of her, she does this crazy stuff. She's made out of red quartz, basically exactly like old Cyclops' IB. It's good stuff. So anyways, this is about her. She's in a revolution. They were in a revolution in Peter David's old story. They're trying to revolt against Dystopia, which is Future Imperfect. And of course, the big guy's around. It's a different version of Banner. Lots of cool stuff. Lots of fighting. Thing shows up in the end. No big deal. No big deal. Cool stuff. All right, last but not least, I got to talk about Secret Wars number 3. So Secret Wars number 3 is obviously the cherry on top of my week. I read all that stuff, and then I was like, okay, now we're going to read Secret Wars 3. Secret Wars 3 is a masterstroke. Continues. Hickman he's a superior writer. All these guys are like starting to get into what's going on. He's obviously the mastermind. He knows exactly where he wants to go. This story focuses a lot on Doom. It focuses a lot on, his Doom's personal ambitions and Doctor Strange, his relationship with Doctor Strange and how that all works, what they remember, how they created Battleworld. They still haven't really explained it. There's a statue of Molecule Man to remember that, the sacrifice, they killed a lot of them to get here. So Secret Wars 3 is a pretty cool book. At one point here, we find the location of the other raft. So we know where both the rafts are, and we find the good raft and the bad raft. And I was really thought that was going to take a lot longer, which is cool, so they got to it right away. So the cover does not tease. You have both good and bad sides now in play in Battleworld. So how's that going to affect Doom? How's that going to bring down Doom's House of Cards? So check out Secret Wars number 3. The story is still very strong. I can't talk more about it. So, all right, that video went for a while. I hope you like my insight on those. A lot of those, I didn't want to try to spoil everything. I did spoil some stuff, but I just wanted to tell you how geeked I am for this stuff. And that's my Secret Wars journal for this week. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to talk more about this stuff, come by 1730 West Eisenhower. I love to talk about Secret Wars with you. Until next time, have a great afternoon, day, evening, night, wherever you're doing your food eating and watching YouTube. Bye.